Hi folks, I'm Owl, this is Yarnell Reads, and this is going to be all of my reading stats for 2019. I keep a bullet journal, which if you've been around at all, you've seen me reading through, but it means that the whole purpose of my bullet journal is to keep track of what I read throughout the year. So I note title, author, and date I finished, what my rating was, the year it came out, like the age group it was meant for, genre, number of pages, format, and source. Format as in like ebook, audiobook, whatever, source as in from the Overdrive library app or from the Hoopla library app or something I own, etc., etc. Anyway, and so I have this whole stats summary spread for it keeps I have all the stats added up for January through June, July through December, and then the whole year, January to December. Anyway, this is a lot of talking. I have no idea how these videos are gonna go, let's be honest. I'm about to film just like continuously for as long as I can because I have so many video ideas and I have the energy to do it, so I'm just doing it. So I have no idea how this is gonna go. I have not like practiced this or really planned out in my head other than doing the math. So here we go. Over the course of the entire year, I read 199 books. So that was 95 in the first half and 104 in the second half. This is different than my Goodreads number. I think I had 204 on Goodreads, and it's because there were some fan fictions that I added on Goodreads that I didn't put in here, or I'm sure that I could figure out. Sorry. I'm sure I could figure out 5 discrepancies, but that's it. That's the difference. Over the course of the entire year, I read 154 audiobooks, 17 paper books, and 32 ebooks. So I'm actually really impressed by the 17 paper books and 32 ebooks. Like, go me. Yeah, nobody's surprised by the 154 audiobooks. I borrowed 121 books. I read 39 books that I owned. And I read 42 other books. So the other books were from a subscription service that I pay for, but like I don't own the book, so Scribd or Audible Escape. Or like I went to ALA Midwinter last year because it's 2020 now. And I didn't keep like any of those, and the ones I didn't keep and sent along I put into the other category after I read them and sent them on. I had 43 rereads last year, which is more than I was expecting. I have a whole page in my journal of books that I reread, and there were some that I reread multiple times. If there's a circle over here, it means I read it for the first time in 2019, and then I read it again multiple times, and I think that one is A Girl Like Her, which I read 4 times total. 3 of them were rereads. My star breakdown, I read 63 5 stars, which was not my highest. And then for audio, paper, ebook, and borrowed, owned, other, the reason that those don't add up to 199 is because there are some books that I read in multiple formats, which means I also read them from multiple sources. I try not to do that for stats, like purely for stats reasons, but that's really silly because if I feel like reading, I should just read however I want to, like however I'm feeling like, and stats be damned. Anyway, getting back to the ratings. I read 63 5 stars, 21 4.5 stars, 73 4 stars, 23 3.5 stars, 15 3 stars, 2 2.5 stars, 1 2 star, 1 1.5 star, and no 1-star books. So my biggest 2 are the 73 4 stars and the 63 5 stars. And part of that is that I am biased to rating high, and it's just how I am, and that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. And part of it is just because I pick out books that I think I'm going to like. And at this point, I know my tastes pretty well. So I end up liking a lot of what I read. And I'm okay with that. As far as length goes, I read 17 books that were less, that are items, so books or graphic novels or novellas, whatever. I read 17 that were less than 100 pages, 22 that were between 100 and 199 pages, 47 that were 200 to 299, 75 that were 300 to 399, 30 that were 400 to 499, 6 that were 500 to 599, 1 that was 600 to 699, and then nothing over 700 pages. So apparently my sweet spot is in the 300s range, which, like, probably could have guessed that. I probably could have guessed that. I don't know if you could have guessed that. But yeah, and the 200 and 400 range is also sort of, it's very much a bell curve for that, which is cool. So as for release year, I am actually really proud of how many 2019 releases I read in 2019. I read 70. It was by far my most read year, and I'm really happy about that. Sorry, guys. Anyway, so I've got 17 2019 releases, 47 2018, and then it just all decreases from there. So 13 2017, 17 2016, 7 from 2015, 9 from 2014, 5 from 2013, 4 from 2012, 3 from 2011, 3 from 2010, 5 from 2009, 4 from 2008, 1 from 2007, 2 from 2006, 1 from 2005, and then we skip a year. No 2004 books. 1 from 2003, and then 1 from 1999, 2 from 1997, 1 from 1993, and 1... Sorry. And 1 from 1969. So, yeah. I read some, last century books. I read 5 last century books. It's fine. And I can tell you the one from 1969 was the Ursula K. Le Guin book I read last January. And I didn't like it very much. That was one of my... It was either a 2 or a 2.5 star. Which is fine. Classics don't work for everyone. And if I'm gonna read a classic, it's gonna be a sci-fi classic, probably. In fact, I'm volunteering at the library, the local public library, with the Friends group. That's the group that does the book sales. Which means that I get first pick of buying any books that come in. So I bought a copy of The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. And I'm really, really, really excited to finally read this. I have no idea when the original of this came out. Oh, okay. The War of the Worlds was first published as a serial in Pearson's Magazine, April to December 1897. So then this will be the oldest thing I read if I read that this year, I imagine. It first appeared in volume form from Heinemann in 1898. And it was included in Volume 3 of the Atlantic edition of the works of H.G. Wells in 1924. And this one was 1956, I think. It's a reprint. I don't know. I'm a librarian. You would think I could read copyright pages, and I still have trouble with them. Anyway, so speaking of sci-fi classics, hopefully I read that this year. And then as for the, age breakdown, I was really surprised by this. I mostly read adult books this year. I read last year. I read 123 adult books, 14 new adult, and I classify it as new adult if the characters are at that time period, and the book is about life transitions. So, stuff that I think the publishers and the authors wouldn't classify as new adult, I do. For example, The Luminous Dead. For the purposes of my stats, I classify that as new adult because it's about, transitioning between adolescence and adult and like becoming an adult and life transitions such as finding a job and getting your big break and like just because of the way I've decided to classify The Luminous Dead as new adult. Fight me. And then I read 51 YA books, which is less than I expected. 9 middle grade books and then 1 picture book. So I did not expect to read more than double adult books to young adult books. And I think a lot of that was to do with what I'm going to get into next, which is the genre that I read. But I don't know. That was unexpected. I feel like I read a lot of YA, and apparently that is not actually the case. I mean, I do. I read 50 YA books, but like, I felt like I read at least half YA, not even close. A quarter of the books I read this year were YA. Well over half were adults. Anyway, getting into genre, my most read genre this year, and this is partially why I think adult was my most read age group, was romance. I read 54 romance books, which I needed nice, like light, fluffy things that were going to make me happy in 2019. So I think it is not surprising I reached for romance. What is surprising is that before this year, I don't think I had read any romance books. My first romance book was A Girl Like Her, which I read in January as a gift. It was a gift from Destiny from Howling Libraries. And she loves Talia Hibbert, who's the author of A Girl Like Her, and like got me into it. And through her, I discovered Talia Hibbert and Cole McCade. And it just snowballed from there. But anyway, yeah, I love romance. It's wonderful. I'm real happy that I discovered that about myself. My next read genre was speculative fiction that does not fall cleanly into either sci-fi or fantasy. So this is urban fantasies or like alternate histories. So I put, what is it called? I put River of Teeth and Taste of Marrow by Sarah Gailey into spec fic because it's an alternate history and I couldn't figure. So anyway, it goes into that. That's my second most read genre, which is not surprising because I love spec fic. And then my third was contemporary at 28 books. And that's just, I consider that to be a book that is not, like, there might be a romance in it, but that is not the focus of the story. Yeah. And it takes place modern day, no magical elements. I also put things like fabulism and magical realism into urban fantasy, speculative fiction, that umbrella. And I love fabulism. It's so good. Anyway, okay, so then the next most read, I didn't put these in order, so I'm ordering them right now. We just did contemporary at 28. So the next would be fantasy at 22, which, okay. It's higher than sci-fi, which was surprising to me. The next one is sci-fi at 19. I only read 19, like, straight up sci-fi books this year, which is less than I expected. I love sci-fi. But, to be fair, I also, the next one is 15 mystery, and then the one after that is 12 horror. So, obviously, like, of course, most books do not fit cleanly into one genre. I just put them in the genre where it, like, where I felt like it best fit. So, a lot of the sci-fi I read was, I put it in horror because it was, to me, mostly a horror book. It just also was sci-fi. And then, yeah, I got into mysteries this year, sort of, 15 mysteries. That was fun. I think half of those were Cole McCade books from his Criminal Intention series. And then after that was 9 thrillers. Again, classifying things is hard. I don't remember what my rules were for if it was a thriller. I think it's just if I decided it was. And finally, 3 nonfiction books. So that was cool. That I read any nonfiction is impressive to me. Like, personally. I don't read a lot of nonfiction. What were the 3 nonfiction books? Now I have to go and look. Oh, there we go. Okay, yeah. The nonfiction I read, the first nonfiction book I read of the year was A Quick and Easy Guide to Queer and Trans Identities. It is a short little graphic novel. It's educational. It's wonderful. It's lovely. Excuse me. It's from the same press that did A Quick and Easy Guide to They Them Pronouns, which I still haven't read. So that was my first nonfiction. What was the other? Oh, yeah, okay. So then I also read It's Not What It Looks Like by Molly Burke. This was an Audible original. I was one of the, like, free ones that you could choose if you were a member one of the months. And it's memoir-esque, and it was only, like, 3 hours or so. But anyway, that's nonfiction. Yay. What's the... Oh, I know what the last one is. And then I read, All the Real Indians Are Dead and 19 Other Myths. Oh, is that the title? Alright, so I read All the Real Indians Died Off and 20 Other Myths About Native Americans by Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz and Dina Gilio Whitaker. Anyway, that was my nonfiction. That I read that in November, so that was my, like, concession to nonfiction November. It's like the only actual nonfiction book I read. Anyway, so those are my stats. I don't know if anybody else, like, I didn't even, like, I like watching stats videos, but in large part because of things like graphs and charts. I just spat numbers at you. I'm not going to make any graphs or charts, so I have no idea if this video is going to be enjoyable to anybody else. But it was fun to make, and that's what matters. I also have a blog post that has all of this laid out if looking at the numbers in a chart would be better for you. And if I don't have it out now, I will have it out soon. And when it is posted, I will link it in the description below. And yeah, that was fun. That was my 2019 reading year. So if you have a reading stats video, I absolutely love, like, year wrap-up videos. So if you have one, or if you have a blog post, please feel free to throw it in the comments below. Yeah. This was fun. You want to get in touch with me on any other platforms, all of those are linked in the description. And other than that, I hope y'all have a great day.